when I pitched this to a few investors I knew in India, nobody was really into cloud infrastructure management at that time. Certainly not virtualization management. It was too deep a technology. Nobody understood it. So ended up not being able to get it funded here. Went back to Boston, where I ended up getting it funded by Bain Capital. Then came back, and they'd never invested in any company in India. But they just said, okay, we like the idea, we like the concept, the framing of this, let's invest in it. Ended up almost getting acquired by Citrix. And this, again, timing matters. So Citrix was courting us for quite a long time. VMware was courting us for quite a long time. And when VMware decided to buy my competitor, and this is what I can tell entrepreneurs too, have multiple paths. In some sense, luckily at the same time I'd been courting, enemy of your enemy is your friend, right? Is the big adage. And so I'd been courting these guys at the University of Cambridge, who turned out to be the inventors of the Zen hypervisor that now powers Amazon Web Services under the hood. And they spun out a company called Zensource that was acquired by Citrix. And the same day that my competitor got bought, we got a round of funding, and then we eventually were able to sell out to Citrix because of that. So that's how, this whole thing of my enemy is my friend. I think entrepreneurs sometimes forget about that. You got to think about the dynamics in your competitive landscape, right? While you may think somebody's a partner, think about how the partners that you may court are competing with each other. And that's often a dynamic that can be to your advantage strategically in terms of how you can get deals done. Very important. Again, think about that game strategy of who you align with, how you add value. This goes back to my earlier point of platforms, trying to build on top of platforms. Because M&A is very hard to have happen. The only couple of ways you can get out of a company, unless you're building a lifestyle business, especially given exit to investors, is IPO or M&A. And if you're going to do that, you have to think about who's going to get you that liquidity happening, right? These are some of the things you need to think through. Anyway, and the latest startup is something I'm still working on. One of the things I say, in India, it's very hard to build a full stack business. And it's even harder to do it in a bubbly time where you're trying to deliver a little incremental value, but there's so much money sloshing around that the incremental value hardly matters, right? And so some of you all may face that problem where you think about the dynamics of the time. If you're trying to save somebody $30 on a delivery, but they're losing $500 on every sale, does the $30 really matter if you make the $30 savings for them, And so the world we live in today is that dynamic, right? And so, you got to think through, are you delivering enough value to really be able to capture value for yourself? I think that's a very important dynamic that sometimes, again, we tend to forget. So I'd say, in kind of closing, entrepreneurship for me, at least, has been kind of a natural thing. I never thought of them as startups. I never thought of them as jobs. You just keep doing it because you wake up one morning and say, I think that's the idea we're going to go after, and you go after it, and you start building a team, and you get some folks on board to believe in it, and then you keep doing it till you can deliver a result, right? And so it's a long journey, and it's going to be ups and downs, and I say it's always, as an entrepreneur, you're constantly failing until you succeed, and then you start failing again. And it is absolutely the case that, you just go through this cycle constantly, continuously, right? And so be prepared for that. And you should make sure you have fun in the up and the down cycles. I think, a lot of you all focus on funding. I think funding is one of the milestones, I think, but it shouldn't be the end in itself. And sometimes it becomes that because you're so focused on trying to get it. And I understand that sometimes, without the funding, you can't get off the ground. But, I think clearly you should make sure personally, too, that you're enjoying what you're doing throughout the journey, right? Sometimes you'll have a real tough time, and sometimes you'll have some real highs. And, I think it's just, it's a fantastic journey overall. And look forward to kind of seeing some of the pitches this afternoon. Congrats to the 15 teams that were picked out of the 22. I know they're going on to 7 more. And look forward to seeing some of them, in the future. So thank you all. Thanks for putting up with me. I hope the jury gave passing marks. And look forward again to interacting with some of the startups. Thank you. And I'm delighted to be here at the Gincelerator event, which is a demo day for all the Ginserv incubated companies. Investors and startup founders are meeting to kind of evaluate where they are, to be able to evaluate them for seed investment. And that's a fantastic, I think, initiative. Ginserv is one of the oldest accelerators, incubators in Bangalore, having started almost 10 years ago. It's DST supported and has done a very good job of helping young entrepreneurs and startups flourish and nourish in Bangalore. I myself have been a recipient of the Ginserv ecosystem, having incubated my own startup at Ginserv, and found the services there and the facilities they offer are outstanding. And we wish them well. Kudos to the Ginserv team for having launched this latest batch of startups, and congratulations.
How many companies joined?
There were 21 companies that pitched, and 15 of them have gone on to the next round, and I think the final round will be 6 or 7 companies that will be selected for consideration for seed funding.
Thank you.
Startup committee is there. Basically, what we are doing is to help the startups in bringing them to the mainstream manufacturing, and also trying to mentor the startup. So we have been a series of initiatives which we have taken up. FICCI has taken up in the field of startup arena, and also one of the initiatives that we have recently taken up is the angel tax, which has been imposed by the government. We have taken up with that the government, and thankfully the tax has been withdrawn. And startups now, what we are really looking forward is to integrate the startups. The best startups in India has to have some sort of alliance with the manufacturing sector. So most of our companies who are working in the field of technology, as well as the manufacturing, aviation, and aerospace, clean technology. So all these sphere we have manufacturing companies are there, which is looking for the technology. So FICCI is taking up the initiative to bring these best startups in India, and also helping them to integrate with the manufacturing sector. So that is one of the prime initiatives that we are taking up. And next 1 year we have a series of programs in Karnataka and other parts of India, which will bring the startups and other manufacturing companies.
Thank you. Formerly advisor to the Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, and presently the Managing Director, Global Incubation Services. The present program, the Accelerator program, is speeding up of the incubation process so that the investors and entrepreneurs meet together and they pick up the promising companies for investment. In addition, we will also consider some of them for our seed fund, which is provided by the Government of India.